long-awaited release of Cyberpunk 2077 was a landmark event in the gaming industry, though it was accompanied by a big scandal. In our review, we will not focus on evaluating the technical aspects of the game or promises made by developers, but we will talk about the Cyberpunk universe itself and the core message of the game, which, for the most part, has been ignored. Cyberpunk, a play on the words cybernetics and punk, is a genre that appeared for the first time at the end of the 20th century. Popular titles of this genre include the novel Neuromancer, the movies Blade Runner, RoboCop, Judge Dredd, and Total Recall, the cult animes Akira and Ghost in the Shell, and finally, The Matrix, which can also be classified as cyberpunk. Cyberpunk developed simultaneously in Japan and in the United States. The American style was focused on the threat of total poverty and corporate power, which was fueled by the Reagan era and the crisis surrounding it. In Japan, the main format for Cyberpunk became manga. It saw in the rapid technological development of the country the danger of imminent collapse and the enslavement of mankind by machine. Part of the popularization of Cyberpunk, though unintentionally, was due to the events in the USSR. Perestroika and the collapse of the Soviet Union eliminated the socialist camp, allowing capitalism to dominate. The bourgeoisie of the world enthusiastically embraced the temporary retreat of communism, and because of the collapse of the Soviet Union, not only were the markets of the former socialist bloc opened, but the lifespan of capitalism itself was extended. While the bourgeois governments of the European Union and the United States were deceiving the population with promises of prosperity, the writers and filmmakers of the cyberpunk genre showcased what the future of a capitalist world would look like. Without realizing it, they followed their fears and the current state of politics to their logical conclusion. The defining features of cyberpunk have become, on the one hand, a high level of development and biotechnology, which practically gives humans immortality, and on the other hand, extreme inequality and the omnipotence of cruel corporations, the so-called Dozois criterion. High-tech, low-life. The achievements in technological development are not used for the prosperity of the masses, but for greater division and oppression. The main theme of the genre is the domination of capital and the helplessness of the people, which is evident in the partial or complete absence of social services, the hegemony of private capital, which subjugates the state and the police, discrimination on social, racial, or ethnic grounds, and mass poverty, the degeneration of the so-called welfare state, the reduction of modern rights and living standards of the population, and the growth of the capitalist power. Cyberpunk correctly developed them to their logical end. But at the same time, Cyberpunk almost never draws conclusions and does not say what to do. It does not focus on the class struggle and makes do with the petty bourgeois appeal to abstract freedoms. The central idea of the disintegration of this state and the coming to power of private corporations is incorrect and outlandish. It ignores the class essence of the state and the fact that the state is simply an arm of corporate monopolies. Cyberpunk 2077 is set in Night City, which was built by businessman Richard Knight. The central plot line revolves around a chip that allows you to digitize people and obtain a sort of immortality. This technology is developed by the Arasaka Corporation, who plan to sell the chip to oligarchs from around the world. In the Cyberpunk 2077 universe, immortality remains a privilege afforded only to the rich. Under the rule of capitalism, scientific progress in this world did not result in the liberation of man, but is even greater enslavement. The same can be said for the case of technology, which, rather than make life easier for people, only intensifies their exploitation. In the world of Cyberpunk 2077, this is expressed most clearly through the fact that many employers and large corporations force their workers to install implants at their own expense or refuse them employment without them. Augmentations that multiply the strength and productivity of the employee are turned against him. If the upgrade is harmful to a person's health, fundamentally unpleasant or simply unaffordable, the worker will be left without work. The conditions of the employed workers, however, are also unenviable. The game does not touch on this directly, but based on the environment, Night City is literally drowning in poverty. At best, a worker with implants will only be overexploited, and at worst, augmentation will eventually lead to health problems. Health insurance and healthcare services for Night City residents are not subsidized at all, and the quality of service is tied directly to the wealth of its citizens. The best medicine is available only to a narrow group of people. Simultaneously, the market for medical services is dominated by an armed monopoly called Trauma Team. In the first missions of the game, you can even find a note in which a resident of the city complains about the high cost of care. The cheap insurance policy, which is common among the residents of Night City, provides untimely and poor quality treatment. As a result, the mother of the author of the note died while still waiting for her turn to see a doctor. At the same time, the medicine in Night City is compared to the free medicine in the in-game USSR, which is unfortunately far removed from the original. In the world of the game, the Soviet Union had long ago abandoned the construction of socialism. The distribution of implants in Night City is not in any way regulated. Often, with the addition of militaristic developments, they fall into the hands of different criminals. Many of the gangs the player fights will have upgrades or weapons built into their bodies. A designated unit, Max TAC, is called in. A special forces detachment, armed to the teeth, whose task it is to eliminate dangerous elements. In addition, all residents of Night City have an operating system built right into their brains and can be targeted by local hackers called netrunners. With the advancement of technology, corporations do not need to tame politicians. It is enough to rewrite consciousness. For example, the mind of a candidate for mayor of the city was controlled to favor third parties and rewritten to add memories and thoughts. Technologies like these take capitalist control over their politicians to a whole new level. One of the central ideas is the might of private corporations, whose power and influence exceed that of the state. At the same time, the state in the world of the game is presented as a power designed to unite various groups, classes, and forces. Private capital, in the form of corporations, is presented as a separate part of society, one that opposes the state, creates parallel power in administrative structures, and creates a state within a state. In reality, the bourgeois state already belongs to the ruling class of capitalists. It expresses their interests and is an instrument of dominance and violence over the workers. What Cyberpunk describes as the relationship between capital and the bourgeois state is simply fantasy. But by showing the power of corporations, Cyberpunk displays not only the power of private capital, but a power that is built on open violence. Corporations in Cyberpunk 2077 do not hesitate to send their own armies to quell unrest, and will physically eliminate competitors, rewrite laws, and fight unions. They carry out an open dictatorship using the methods of terrorists and diminish or completely crush the rights of the working class. According to the classical definition in Marxist-Leninist theory, this is called fascism. Moreover, capitalists use organized crime for their own ends. The Tiger Claws gang, for example, was created by the Arasaka Corporation in order to fulfill their orders. The game also touches on the issues of both the deceitfulness of the bourgeois media and the alleged freedom of speech under capitalism. One of the quests, with the eloquent title Freedom of the Press, tells the story of a journalist who became disillusioned with the media. The quest recounts the experiences of a disabled corporate soldier who had prosthetics made for them just to obtain ether, and afterwards they were simply taken away. The story of a journalist who was investigating the activities of a city council member who actively promoted the cause of the Militech Corporation is also telling. When she went to meet with an informant, however, the journalist was unexpectedly hit by a train. As a result, it was revealed that the corporation had simply destroyed it for anti-capitalist and anti-corporate propaganda. The game also brings attention to the issue of trade unions in a capitalist society. In the Cyberpunk 2077 universe, their formation is strictly forbidden. This is repeated openly by the media, and is also stated directly by in-game sources. The agitators get handed over to the police or security services of the capitalists, and if the union cannot be crushed through these means, corporations turn to bandits who physically eliminate the activists. In addition, there is a direct reference to Marxism in the game. In the quest, The Red Prophet, the character begins to receive strange text messages from a certain Bartmoss society. Later, you can visit the website for this society, where it's revealed that the strange slogans in the texts are coded Marxist propaganda, and the site has many active subscribers, implying the popularity of left-wing thought in Night City. Obviously, the developers of Cyberpunk 2077 did not set themselves the goal of creating anti-capitalist propaganda. As with any other company, the main goal of CD Projekt Red is to make a profit, and choosing a setting like this is just another business strategy. Even the developmental process of the game was littered with labor rights violations and excessive staff overtime, despite the fact that Cyberpunk 2077 did not become a thorough critique of capitalism. Due to the weak main plot and action orientation, various elements in the game can really make you think about the future of humanity under capitalism. Stay tuned.